Jimi Hendrix and I were working at a club called the Pink Poodle in Clarksville, Tennessee. And that wasn't too far from Fort Campbell, where we got discharged. Well, this one night, the gig was over with. I was packing up, and Jimi didn't have anything to pack up. He left his amp on the stage, and he always carried his guitar in his hand. In the early years, Jimi Hendrix did not have a case for his guitar because he did not want to take the time to take the guitar out of the case to practice. He wanted to have the guitar ready to play at any time. And that's why Betty Jean, the name of his guitar at the time, did not have a case. Well, this one night, Jimi told me, he says, "Billy, could you do me a favor?" As we were packing up. I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" He said, "I'm going to Springfield to see my girlfriend Joyce. And could you stop by in the morning and pick me up? Because I've got a ride tonight." I said, "Okay, very good, pick you up." So I went on to the house that we had rented, and it was maybe 3 blocks away from the club. Got up that next morning, headed towards Springfield to pick up Jimi. So I pulled up at the house, Joyce's house, where Jimi was. I blew the horn. So I waited a minute. Jimi came out, got in my car. I looked at him and says, "Man, you look like death warmed over." He said, "You're not going to believe what happened to me last night." I said, "What happened?" He said, "The guy dropped me off, and to get from there to Joyce's is about almost a mile." He said, "So I got out and walked through the little road there, and all of a sudden a vehicle pulls up behind him. He turns around to see what it was, and it was a truck with some guys in it. And then they started making some racial slurs and threats and telling him what they're going to do to him. Jimi's on alert. The truck stops. It's 2:30 in the morning. No one else is around. But as luck would have it, a cornfield runs right beside the road. By my count, Jimi had 5 talents that placed him in the category of an exceptional human being. We already know what one was, and a second was his ability to run. First time I found out how fast Jimi could run is when he, Larry Lee, and myself had a race. And by the time we got out ready, set, go, before me and Larry Lee could get our sprint on, all we could see was Jimi's feet and him touching the tree we had designated for the finish line. That guy could really run. So Jimi tells me he runs into the cornfield. These guys jump out of the truck and run behind him into the cornfield. But what they don't know is Jimi Hendrix is an exceptional runner. On top of that, he's trained by the 101st Airborne Division, and he took evasive action. And they searched and searched and searched, and they never found Jimi. Jimi was laying down not too far from them on top of his guitar, and he laid in that position motionless until he heard him get back in the truck and he heard the truck take off. But he was not going to come out of that field. Next thing you know, he had laid on his guitar that he kept with him all the time. He had slept on it, and the sun came up. So every time in Red House when I hear Jimi sing, "That's all right, I still got my guitar," I think about that night when Jimi hid out in a cornfield in fear of his life. It was that night I believe that Jimi crossed over and something happened.
That's the sign of the cosmic